Hello and welcome to Music with Brylie. We're going to work on a track in Bitwig Studio today called Rye Porridge, inspired by one of my, favorite Finnish breakfasts, top 5 in terms of the porridges that we have here. So this track is kind of in a mixing is then a mastering stage at this point. I don't want to get bogged down too much more in sound design and arrangement. I think we're pretty solid and good enough to kind of share online and then listen to around town. So find out if anything else jumps out at me before publishing this album. So let's take a listen, but in this, let me think here for a second. Situation, I'm going to use a monitoring tool on our mastering. Let's see. We don't have tonal balance. Oh, what the heck is the name of it? It's an analysis plugin. Yeah, we'll use this Ulean to start getting some just perspective of the overall loudness contour. I'm not going to necessarily target anything at this point, although we will be on this album. We're targeting around -15 LUFS, so we will need to change that setting to it's essentially Spotify, but they're defaulting to -14 LUFS. Now, for consistency of this album, I'm going to target -15. So we're going to listen to the track from the beginning. I'm just mainly seeing if it's relatively stable, not necessarily that it's hitting the target, because we're going to do the mastering next, and listening with the ear to the overall mix. My kombucha. Sponsored, but yummy. Sunny Peach. Drum and bass, fast soul music type thing. Yeah, I think so. We could work on that. The next album I'm working on, though, is sort of a concept album around like texture and movement. So it's kind of going to be a departure from it's kind of more orchestrated and conventional arrangements. What kind of inspirations would you recommend for the drum and bass? What are some of your favorite drum and bass artists? Okay, let me see if I can fix that. How's that? Let me see if I boost my mic gain here. If I had a gain and a compressor, I can boost my gain by, like, for example, about 5 dB or something. And that puts me in the yellow, and the music's constantly in the yellow as well. I have some pretty big output gain on my compressor, though. I'm surprised I'm not competing well. And you know what I need to do is sidechain. So first in on the desktop audio would be just a compressor with side chaining. Then a peak limiter, just for safety, at around -3. Cool. Yeah, I can check out Open Spotify link. So yeah, there's a couple minor, in this song, there's a couple minor details I just want to iron out. I'm still not satisfied with the riser that I've been tweaking. I might even just remove it. Open Spotify, Memory Lane by Netsky. Okay. You know, I think I've seen Netsky. I don't have Spotify, but I'll check it. I'll take a listen. But overall, I mean, if I'm looking at this, if we look at the song from like a overall standpoint, I think it looks pretty stable. There's a couple of spots, you know, where it gets quiet. And I think that's good, that you have some dynamic range in the song. Overall, we're at 10 loudness units. I think that'll get cleaned up once we put the mastering chain on, which is going to have compression and some other aspects. I don't have a view of the overall tonal balance. We'll take a look at that. But yeah, I'm going to have to, I think I should step back just a moment and two things. One was this riser, and the other one was the strings. I think they're just slightly too busy. So these plucks, or the ARP, what is it? The ARP is kind of busy here. Let's see here when it comes in. The plucks are chill. But it's this ARP, and I think I just need to make it so we only play around 70% of the notes. There's 16th notes that are pretty busy. I think that was a simple fix. Now the other place where I think we need a little work Plants vs. Zombies. Yeah, nice. And I'm kind of aiming for that aesthetic. Just chill background video game kind of music. I really like it. People can use this for a video game. So it's this riser here. This is where it gets a little bit spacey. Also, the melody, honestly, maybe moving more than it needs to. And I think that's... where is that coming from? See, the second riser, this was good. It peaks. Everything peaks together. So it could be just, if I tighten everything up here, we'll be good. And the movement's the danger zone right here. So I'm just going to pull back a bit. Not going to worry about too much the movement of the melody. But let's take a listen to this. And it needs to peak and drop fairly quick. Something still seems off. It's this delay, firstly. Needs to come back right away. Not bad. I have a feeling I'm never going to be satisfied with this. But maybe that's good enough. So let's get into mastering. I know some open source developer. What stack do I work with? Mainly I'm doing sort of full stack web development with Django, Wagtail CMS, HTML, CSS, a little bit of JavaScript, the Django templating engine. Occasionally I will add a sort of a reactive component on a page using like Vue or some other kind of client library that gives me rich interactivity where it's needed, kind of sprinkling it in, but I'm not I don't use this single page application architecture. I think that's way too complicated for the things I build. And then recently I've been working on Flutter apps, learning Flutter framework, and built an app, and I'm working on publishing it earlier today on the App Store. So kind of getting the full flow of how to make an app and get it out there. And I've got it in test pilot on my device right now. All right, APIs and apps with Django and Flask. Yeah, and for APIs, at work we're using this thing Fast API because, as you're aware, Python's adding a lot of features around like kind of typing like static analysis and things like that. And the type support's getting richer every release of Python. And really, it's a game changer in terms of being able to code in really difficult and complicated code bases where you might not even be able to run the code locally in some cases, which is common with microservice architectures. And the typing gives you much more confidence as you're moving around, as you're connecting things, passing data around, passing data across service layers, using things like gRPC, for example. So I'd recommend using sort of these Pydantic type-oriented frameworks in Python and getting that as part of your core discipline if you're not already. Yeah, cool. And I have been doing quite a lot with Django, and I will continue to do so. It's been tapering off a little bit, but we've built a really big website with Django and just launched it a couple of months ago. So it was a long process, and I kind of took a break from open source development for a while after that, just to like kind of let my brain clear out. And I've been focusing on music a lot more, which I think is kind of like the next horizon I'd like to explore. But I'm still pretty interested in open source dev. So if you got some projects you want me to check out on the stream, we can do that. I'm glad to check out what other people are building. It's always fun, and collaborate on some ideas. If you're interested in some tasks on these open source projects, I've got a bunch of tasks that are like, good first issue, help wanted type of thing. So you could get some experience that way. And I've helped mentor several students and other adult learners around town here who are like kind of interested in entrepreneurship and transitioning from in their career over to more tech-oriented or knowledge orientation, I guess you could say, data science and stuff like that. Yeah, that's cool then. So if you can share your GitHub link, I'll check it out. So now we're going to just check out a little bit of mastering on this track. Like I say, I'll listen to this around town a bunch, and if this transition just really annoys me, I'll come back and I'll fix it. All those things, that's part of the process. Let me double check if I've got my my mastering plugins installed. Isotope Neutron. If so, we will put this neutron in all these tracks. Yeah, 1 second. I'll be right back. Very cool. Yeah, you're learning Django through William Vincent's Django for Beginners book. Super good book. I'm just really grateful for that. I got the whole bundle: the Django for Beginners, Django for Intermediate, and Django for APIs or something like that. They're all like really well written. There's another really good book called Up Your Django DX, or Improve Your Django Developer Experience, something like that. That sounds a bit like up your something, but no, that's not. Up. Let me see here. Boost your Django DX. I have it wrong. Yeah, check this one out too if you can get the discount code or something. But I mean, at the price and for what it covers, so many best practices in here. Actually, I would recommend instead of Flake 8 now, you check out Rough. That's a bit outdated. This is sort of like the now de facto multi-tool for Python code quality analysis, linting, many other things. It sort of combines Black and Flake 8 and a bunch of other tools all in one. Is built with Rust, so it's built for performance. And this Astral is making some other tools that are sort of consolidating the Python developer ecosystem around a single, more or less, mindset. It's been a bit of a factionalized thing for a long time, and hopefully this will be like some of the last, factionalization that will, if you look at languages like Rust, they just have the tools. They have a linter, they got cargo, and everything just kind of is built in to the tooling, the standard tooling. This is the same with Dart and other contemporary languages. Python's been around for a while, so it didn't really start out with that. So it's been a long time coming, but I believe, at least what we've seen with Rust, it's really excellent. And anyway, it's maybe not mentioned specifically under code quality tools, but Rough basically replaces isort, Black, and Flake 8. Pre-commit's also something we're using all the time. And then, yeah, some other nice improvements here. Very cool. Yeah, let me check out your GitHub real quick. Whoops. Oh, let me grab that link. Repositories. Very cool. Yeah. Oh, and was that from Fight Club? What's that picture from? More contributions equals better developer. So you're doing some Flask, some finance app. Looks like you're spreading around on several different types of projects. That's how I remember how I started out as well. How to, just some sketch, like repositories I was sketching out, doing assignments and sketching out ideas and stuff. And then eventually you kind of consolidate your work onto like one or more either pet projects or some other big project that you join an initiative and work on. So yeah, very cool. I'll follow you there. Cool. So let's get back to the music. I'm hoping to finish this track today, to get through the mastering today and publish this on SoundCloud so that I can walk around town and sort of listen to it. In order to do that, I need a few tools. I need Nectar. No, that's for vocals. We're not doing any vocals here. So I've got Neutron 4 installed. Going to install Vocal Synth though, because I do have some ideas cooking with vocals, but it looks like we've got our main mastering and mixing plugins installed. So what I'll do is just hop over here, and in the device chain, I've been putting the tool at the end. I think the mixing Neutron 4 chain will go at the end of everything. And what Neutron does is this cheat code. It's like using some kind of audio artificial intelligence analysis. And when I give it some audio, it'll and let me give it the audio where it's more full spectrum. Here we go. It starts to do some spectral analysis, dynamics analysis, and it tries to determine, detect what it's hearing. It's okay at it. Here, got it pretty correctly. It has a tendency to put distortion on everything. I'm not a big fan of that. But what it does is it creates a mixing chain in this case. That may or may not be good. We can see it found some places it should dip out and cut. Conversely, I've already got a compressor on here, the exciter. So actually what I'm thinking about for the drums is just, if I turn it off, let's hear before and after. I mean, it did boost it. Now, I haven't EQ'd these drums though, so I might even just be able to get a similar effect with just an EQ plus. And if I just loop over here. And essentially put a shelf. Brighten them up slightly. What else did it apply? It's very gentle EQ and some compression. Multiple stages of compression, which I have a bit of compression here, so we're like really actually layering that up. So I might actually have it analyze the dynamics again without my compression in there. You don't want to put compression, it's like multiplicative. But in this case, I think I'm going to roll back on these drums and just go with my little EQ and compression. And maybe I've got saturation here. I'll move the saturation. Move this all before the tool. I'll remove this neutron. And I'll put the neutron in the other tracks, perhaps. I think the drums are all right. Let's move to the next one. Although the cool thing about having neutron across the tracks is integrated. Yeah. So what's the main focus of your engineering? What kind of just computer software engineering, or what's the sort of discipline? What are you interested in career-wise or just life-wise? What kind of draws you to software? Information technology. Cool. Yeah, I guess the life one's more important because sometimes we get drawn to like software engineering because it's like lucrative, or our parents said it's like the future, and it's not always the case. So here we go. Let's listen to this. It's not always something that's for you, right? You would find out what's perfect for you. So let me find a better place. Main focus, interested in backend development and cybersecurity. Main focus on backend development for now, because getting straight into cybersecurity for jobs is quite difficult. Hey, that's a good point. You need to kind of have experience of like, what are the systems you're securing and how do they work? All right, let's continue. So this is a decent EQ. Now this piano group, I'm going to just apply neutron at the group level. And if we solo the piano for some activity, that sounds good. It's nice soft felt piano. See the detection, and it puts distortion on everything. But I think it does enhance it. Mainly I turn the sculptor off. Now for our ambience, these are pretty distinct voices. With the different tonal characteristics. So I think I should put neutron on them individually. Whereas the piano was actually kind of a left hand, right hand, a similar same felt piano. This is kind of a pad, like a synthesizer pad. Do I play any games? Yeah, I used to play quite a lot of games like It's been a while though, but these kind of army games, like shooter games, army simulation games, I'm still sort of interested in them, but I really have focus. I have such limited time, like everybody. I gotta choose my adventure and trying to put my time into things that are giving me something back. So open source software is like I'm making something that I can share, and it's building skills that I can use in my career and build other cool stuff. And lately I've been doing music because that is pretty enriching activity. And I think if I'm going to spend, you know, with my free time, if I only have a few hours of free time a week, let's say 3 or 5 hours, I'd rather spend 5 hours, you know, putting together an album, which I've been working on for a while. So that's where I'm at. I'm 42. And I've had my share of hours, tens or hundreds of hours spent in game lands. So I'm not like harshing on that whole thing. It's just as my time is dwindling. And I also find that music gives me like a more like just euphoric state of mind, whereas the games were like agitating, irritating, and frustrating and amping me up, and I'm not kind of in that mindset. So this one sounds pretty good. I'm not going to obsess too much over the necessarily over the EQ, this mixing stuff. But let me find a place where these chords here are really standing out. Well, let's see. Like here's a good place. These ambient chords, if I could just zoom in. There we go. And on this track, we'll put a neutron device. Ambient chords have it. Motion pad doesn't have it. How the heck did I do that? Strange. I like the synth lead. This is a bit of a lead. It's nice and bright. Now we're on a motion pad. Now we're in the right place. Neutron. I just need to go back to a different place in the composition and cue up neutron. So I'm kind of going through this mixing and mastering part pretty quick. Solo this. Here we go. Okay, nice. I think this is a pad. Ooh, yeah, there we go. In this case, yeah, I don't like my mixing tools to sort of... I know that distortion is part of the mix, but this sound already has, I think, all the harmonics it needs. Maybe a little bit of subtle distortion is okay. Retro distortion. All right, that's very subtle. Now here comes the mastering part. It's just I'm spinning through this so fast. Normally I would stop and have another session, but I've been working on this track for like I think a few weeks now, and I'm ready to publish this album. It's the last track on an album. So let me think here. This is called Ozone, and if I've done all right in the mix, you know what I haven't done. What I have not done, or apparently maybe I have, these EQ, where I just need to make sure that my sounds aren't colliding. So let's go through them all. Make sure I've got an EQ on each instrument. I do have the EQ on the drums. Now they can be full spectrum. I think this is all right to have this little shelf. I'm not going to worry too much about notching. My melody does not have an EQ, so this will be an important one. And I should have done this. Actually, Neutron does this EQ in here, so I can just... And it already did it. Good thing. Yeah, they realized that these frequencies aren't so important for the melody. The piano, let's check the EQ on the piano. this is one of the nice things about Neutron, is it's just kind of well designed. Now the piano actually does have some pretty deep tones. So let's hop back over here. I'll come back to Ozone in a minute. So the piano is pretty full spectrum, but I would argue I could apply a little steeper cut off here to keep it from colliding too much with the drums. Let that kick really have all that space on it. Yeah, below 60 the piano doesn't really need to be. Alright, strings. I missed the strings. I think I can apply as a group Neutron. Since the strings are in the same family. See, it didn't quite detect them right. And it still wanted to put distortion on everything. So I think our EQ is pretty good. If I check both these ambiances, they may be a bit more full spectrum. But you see, these are pretty... There's not much important information down here. It's kind of just noise. It muddies up the mix. Good. This is the same. Now if we hear the full. So I need to put the ozone before our loudness meter. That was one mistake I've made before. We're going to open ozone and we're going to take the track to the place where it's one of the most loud. I believe, you know, we're kind of peaking out here where I'm analyzing. It's got every instrument pretty much. Now it's going to get louder here. Current job market for developers. It's a good question. We're seeing like a lot of layoffs, and it's a very competitive market. at the same time, and most of the positions that are like open at the company where I work are like senior level positions. So I think for junior and getting your foot in the door jobs, it's very fierce competition and limited opportunity. I think a lot of companies overhired, and they're kind of reeling from that. Salaries are one of the biggest cost centers in companies who are right now oftentimes struggling financially. So we're going to apply an EDM kind of curves to this. Now it seems like we got some equipment on this one on the top. But hey, our EQ curve is pretty mild. I'm glad of it. I think I'm going to have to drop this down. First, let's do a gain matching bypass and listen to it. So here's without mastering and with mastering. Without sounds all right, but with mastering it's just got a little more polish to it. I just think this has got to come down by about 5 dB at least. Then we'll be okay. What I'm going to do now is just give the whole song a playthrough with our Uline loudness meter and see if we hit our LUFS target of around -15. So actually, ours is, can I just set a custom one? -15. How do I set that? I don't really know how that part works. It's basically Spotify though. And we're just gonna look here. We want to be around -15. So if I hop back to the beginning, zoom on out. Okay, let's see. How are things for freshers? I'll be entering the job market in less than a year or so, and I'll be also be able to apply for internships next month once my exams this semester are done. Yeah. Yes, build a portfolio now. It's not going to be it'll give you a little bit of an edge. Start networking now. A lot of opportunities come up through personal networks with people you know. So hang out at either tech conferences or like any startup or accelerator hubs or community organizations around town. Start doing some volunteer work for nonprofits with their technical support and technical needs, building experience, putting together, a resume, and demonstrating working in an actual environment. And there's like certain things that just exams and the curriculum can't prepare you for. You just have to kind of get into a place where you're doing meaningful work on a project that's been around for a while. It's got some legacy complexities and stuff like that. So yeah, build your portfolio, build your network, build a basic CV of volunteer activities. Those are things you can do without much barrier to entry. They just take time. See, now our loudness range is really tight. It's right around 14 as well. So I'm going to be able to drop this slightly to 15. But yeah, it's probably pretty tricky right now. Yeah. So this is the path I took. I just found some sort of organizations, some community organizations that seemed cool, like things that I liked, like art and stuff, and I knew they needed some help with their information technology. And I kind of went down the path eventually of web development. Get involved with any kind of, if there's an open source project you can get involved with, that would be a good place to start. And just learning to collaborate, so you're already building experience with like working as a team member and stuff. couple too many rolls there. The ambience probably can all come down. I'll just put a tool on that and just drop it by just 2 decibels. No, drop it by 2. Maybe that's about it. Yeah, there we go. Now we're in the loop, so that can happen. All right, so we have really just under 6 loudness units, so our dynamic range is tight. It should be under like 10. So you can have some loud and quiet. And then we're about minus 13 left, so I can pull it up a little bit. Things in Finland, oh yeah, 40 degrees on average. Dang, that's hot. Yeah, it's warming up here. We've finally got some green on the trees. What it was just last week we had our final snow of the season, I think. So yeah, while this is fresh in my mind, but yeah, it's nice. I went for a walk today. It was really warm and sunny. So we were at -13. So we need to go down about 1.5. I'll just say let's go to -7. We should be good there. And yeah, just a couple little nuances. I would like slightly more variation in the drums. I hope I didn't butcher the drums here if I just soloed them. Let's take a listen. And this might not need to be quite so strong. Maybe like 77. Pretty good. And there was just some interesting or annoying repetition here. Nice. I think we're good. Very cool. Scott, thanks for the raid. Wow, cool. Appreciate it. Welcome. We're in the mastering stages of this track, Rye Porridge, inspired by a Finnish-style breakfast every Tuesday. Thanks, yeah. It's meant to make us feel kind of relaxed. It can be put on the background or a nice video game level where you're just exploring or something. Maybe it was this one that I wanted to tweak. Nice. Yeah, this is the chill music, and this concept I've been working on for the next album I think is going to be even more chill and sort of borderline ambient or textural. I don't know really what it'll be because it's just an idea at this point. Half of the music is just exploratory process. It kind of writes itself. I have some sort of general ideas. But a lot of the instruments are kind of playing themselves to a certain extent. I just put in the chords. And a little bit of arpeggiation and random envelopes. Random velocities. Both the piano and the strings are playing themselves just from chords. Just chords. Yeah, I like those pizzicato strings. Those are very cool. These are stock strings. I think they come with Bitwig. Let me double check here. I have an arpeggiator and a humanize and oh, these are Falcon strings. From the orchestral suite, UVI. Nice. Very cool. Well, I better take a break. This has been a good session, and I think the track's in a nice place that I could upload it. Maybe I'll upload that tonight. Take a listen to it. I'm going to put it on SoundCloud. And, you know, if nothing really jumps out as needing improvement or annoying or being too repetitive, I like things to constantly be moving just subtly, texture movement or variations in the, you know, randomness of the pizzicato strings or the drums, all of that. You know, listen to all those little details, but mostly today's session was about mixing, making sure we had a good balance and overall master. Yeah, I was using Logic for a couple of years at least before switching over to Bitwig, and the experience on Bitwig has been 90% of the things in Bitwig have just been better than Logic, and like mind-blowing in some cases. There's about 10% of things I'm missing from Logic, but not really missing them enough to go back. some of the best experiences I've had in Bitwig. The automation curves editing is very simple and straightforward. When you're editing in general, there's just a couple of keyboard shortcuts you need to think about, to switch your tool. You don't have to have like a left and right hand tool going on. The automation curves aren't quite as, you can't do S curves as easily in Bitwig, but I've found that it has not been a deal breaker. It's been very easy to work with. And the main things, the Bitwig, the modularity and randomness and modulation, it's just above and beyond any other tool. I'm not using it extensively here, but it's got remotes. I'm trying to think if there's something I'm doing where I'm automating the modulation in this track. I'll demonstrate that sometime, but let me just see. Well, here's an example. Every device, these are semi-modular devices. You chain them together in series, and every device has, if you click this, you'll have some modulators that you can assign. This one is just taking, there's many types of modulators. There's regular ones like low frequency oscillators. You can draw curves, arbitrary curves, or there's bouncing balls, there's MIDI modulators, I don't even know, I haven't quite explored the extent of it. Vector grid that you can drag between. And that's kind of what I'm really wanting to do in the next album, is get real deep into these modulations, having very simple few tracks with a few voices, and just go really deep on modulation and automation. So I can do much more here, but this is an example. What we're doing here is I've got a random walker. It's a stepped walker, and it's triggering every so often. And when I click the modulation, I can see it's mapped over here to the rotation. It's going to rotate this every so often. And what essentially this doing is called a note repeater. It's just passing through a humanizer that's playing my strings for me. This particular case is the string pluck. So if I come over here and I just play from here, I'll turn these modulators off. So here's my chords without anything. Here's my chords with this repeater on. And then I put a little humanization here. What that's going to do is select about 60% of the notes. So it's like plucking. Let me get back to where it's plucking. Instead of the whole chord, is plucking only 60% of the notes in the chord. So it gives the chord movement. And it's adding a little bit of timing offset and velocity offset. And so that's just one small example of a modulator. Let's see if I've got something here, any modulation here. This is an arpeggiator, so if we solo this string arp, and we take a look at what I'm doing here, I'll take a listen to that. So the arpeggiator, in this case, is controlling whether or not these are swung. Essentially, this is the groove function that enables swinging, and so half the time, or 2/3 of the time, these are swung. But every once in a while, we're at straight 16th notes. And then I've got this humanize that's only playing 70% of the notes. Otherwise, like if I put this up to 100%, it'll play all the notes. But I found that was, a bit intense and like not quite human. So yeah, now this stuff like puts Logic to shame. I mean, not to shame, but it's just Logic doesn't even come near. There's an arpeggiator in Logic, a couple of MIDI devices, MIDI kind of modifiers, but yeah, Bitwig is just mind-blowing in its depth. And we haven't even talked about the grid, this internal grid, which was what really compelled me to go to Bitwig. I've been doing some modular. Thanks, Ziggy, for stopping by. Hope to see you around. Oh gosh, yep. Have some good sleep. Good luck on your exams coming up. Yeah, I mean, Bitwig is just so remarkable. And I don't have much else I can showcase in this track. I've been keeping it pretty straightforward in terms of just mainly focusing on sequencing and sound design automation type of stuff. Oh yeah, true. The 8-track limitation is a bit awkward. I got the studio version, so I don't have that limitation, but I can see that would not be cool. If you can get the one with the 8-track on a discount or something, or and then upgrade the studio, especially because it's got this thing called the grid, which makes it just so powerful. Yeah, I don't want to seem like I'm a Bitwig salesperson, but it's been, for me, very transformative for my sort of workflow. And I was, for a long time, in Logic, doing kind of one style and mindset of music. And then I was using this other tool. There we go, that sounds good. This other tool called VCV Rack, doing modular synthesis and kind of generative music, and then I couldn't get the two to work together. I really tried. And I got the version of VCV Rack that lets you use it as a VST plugin or an what's the one that Logic uses? AAC or whatever? AAC? No, audio unit. It just kept crashing. There was just in terms of, I tried to add modulation to these little knobs and stuff, and it was just blowing up. It was just not happy, and I was not happy. But then I was like, what am I gonna do? I want to combine these two mindsets. And then, well, I started looking more at Bitwig. Let me just do a new track here. So Rye Porridge, I think, is pretty good in terms of ready to roll. It's well done. I'll take a little, closer listen to it after submitting it, but let's see the grid, polygrid. So it's basically this modular environment where you have these low-level primitive things that either generate sound or modify it, or show you what's going on in there. And then what you can do is then just put some notes in. Like if I do like, well, that's pretty low. Let's do a C major chord, for example, where we have one measure of C major, one measure C major, one measure of C minor, around C4, around middle C. Let's try it out. Middle C. Let's draw it from here. Boom. So that would be C, E, and then G. Yeah, and I'm going to cut off right before the second measure, so it has a little bit. Perhaps we can have legato. Maybe a little legato will be good because then I can arpeggio it. Then we'll stretch this loop so it's actually 2 measures long, and I'll just do a parallel minor modulation. Or is that parallel? Is that what that's called? C minor. So if I grab these 3, maybe I can just stretch them over here. Yeah, let's take a listen to this. So I'll loop it on the grid and activate the audio engine. Okay, sounds bad. So let's come back and let's find out why. What's going on here? One is it's on monophonic. So I think we should have at least, let's say, 8 voices allowed. There we go, we have something. And the problem is I haven't really been working with the grid very much, but let's see if I can grab something more pure, like a pure sine wave oscillator, just for now. Yeah, it's really loud. So then what we can do is, let's add a filter, like a low pass filter here. And then we'll want an oscillator that actually has some more harmonics. Like, yeah, for sure, me too. So let's, well, I'll stretch this by scale by 200%. So we'll slow things down. One thing I just might put in, well, let's see, we have a pad. This is our pad sound, so we'll come back to it. But let's give it a little bit of movement. I haven't used the modular environment, so bear with me. But, well, one thing you can do is put modulators here, which we have. So I can put a random modulator here. And for each note, I can have these moving around, these filters. Polyphonically, or bipolar. It'd be kind of cool if they could all pan. So we can add another random modulator and maybe I can pan. Let's see if this even works. I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Yeah, we got modulators for panning. I'm just going to put a delay out here. Then what we can do is sort of duplicate these chords onto the next. That's actually audio track. Let's make another thing it has that Logic doesn't have. It has the hybrid tracks, but let's just put. I'll show you this polysynth polymer, which is built on the grid. It's basically a pre-wired grid. Yeah, acoustic instruments, I really like those as well, and you can blend them in. Bitwig actually includes a couple of acoustic instruments like symphonic ones, but let's take these same chords, and then I'll start these at the same time, but in front of this one I'm going to put an ARP. And then you can start just like dragging things. And that sounds kind of cool. So I'm going to add a little modulation for that, like a low frequency. Perhaps one that's sort of synchronized to the beat, but slow. I'll just add a little bit of noise. So like, let's do another random here on this low pass. And maybe if I put some little reverb on here. What I'll do is I'll just duplicate this one, I'll edit these chords. And I'll put them in another register. And maybe delay them. I have a little bit of offset. Put them as dotted notes. Get a little bit of stereo spread. Every once in a while I'll do a little bit of glide. Random again. And then what we'll do is, it's always C, so let's just drone it, or let's drone like D and see what happens if I drone like a D2 or a G. Without the arpeggiator though. Maybe. Actually, that's not bad. What about a G1? Yeah, I love that. Let me see here, and I've got my keyboard. Let's do like a piano. I'm gonna stick with only the me just get this up in a bit. But let's try a different instrument. I think the grand was alright. There we go. So we can see here, this is the grid instrument. So let's just do like a little recording here. Let's see how this works out. So one thing I need to edit is just those velocities, kind of keep them in check. It's a bit abrupt sometimes. One thing I can do, I think, is if I scale all of them and take the chaos, move the median, scale it down, increase the chaos. Alright, cool, Scott, thanks for stopping by. Oh my gosh, yeah, get some sleep, get some sleep. It's only 8:30 here. Maybe I'll try to stream a little bit earlier, see you around, that you don't have to be up so late, of course, to hang out. Yeah, what's your time zone? Have great, good evening. Sleep well. Gotta check that tool. It's a bit hot. I'm going to thin these out a little bit. Let me see, I have to make sure these are equal division. think that should loop at the right time here. There might have been a problem with the duration of the loop. Where I was sort of getting a polymetric situation. Now it might be nice to have just a bit of polymeter drums. So to do this, it's like a technique I would like to try is just starting with the kick for the foundation, and just putting in a single note, like a C3, for the whole measure. And then what you can do is, for example, so it just plays it once and kind of loops that. In fact, we might decide that I want to do that for the full 4-bar type of thing. And so a couple options. I can put a note modifier called, well, let's try it. So I showed the note repeat before. Let's do this. Ricochet, for example. So basically it's just a ball that bounces around, and every time the ball bounces it makes that sound. It doesn't always bounce on time, so we're gonna just give it a little bit of a quantization to like 16th notes. And then we'll do a kick snare type. This actually be good for a hat. I think we set these in particular tone, but essentially what I realize is that we're droning G. Hey, Tanator, thanks, I appreciate it. How are you doing today? It's not going to work, but that's okay. Now what we're going to use is the hat, so it's like they're kind of driving. And I think just that repeat was kind of cool. I think if we just... The cool thing is, it's all synthesized, so you have so many crazy possibilities are endless. Hats and shakers all from the same. So let's do this random modulation on the decay. And it should be stepped, random, and fast. But maybe stage relative to the transport. So we'll set it in like, I don't know, eighth notes, quarter notes. Oh my gosh. Like 1/4. Let me see here. So we went to minimum there and give it a range like kind of big, and it'll make its way through that. It's bipolar, so it's going to be sometimes smaller, sometimes bigger. So in this case, we want it to be unipolar, so it's always going to be bigger than that. So I'll set the minimum value, and the range again can be kind of big. All right, so that's that, and there was like a frequency. And it apparently has a bunch of effects already built into this. So transient controller, multi-effects layer with a tool, ring modulation, a comb filter, slapback. So that's all built into the preset. Let's hide the modulation, hide the well. Then there are these macro controls that give you sort of way of controlling into the instrument. You can modulate them. So that's kind of an example of that. And for the darkness, I'll maybe have it more smooth and stepwise motion. So it's kind of a random walk, and it can be bipolar, so it can go lighter or darker. Very cool. And at the end of this whole chain, I think I'll just put a delay. With a sort of like long tail. Let's see if there's a filter here. So they get out of phase, that's what happened. These should all be in phase. Well, the E kick doesn't matter so much. That's interesting. So if I edit this, take caps lock off, and I'll edit this so it has multiple events firing simultaneously. But they have to be offset apparently. There you go. Wow. So then what we can do is select these two and say the next action will be play random, I think, random and block. So every once in a while you get that kind of glitchy one. Likewise, we can make variations on the snare by rotating randomly. So with minimal amount of stuff, there you go. And maybe we'll put some, again, random, very minor random modulation on the tuning. And it can be a bit more connected. Sort of legato. Sort of like this random on the noise decay. Kind of gives it itself like a little reverb. Monopolar. A smooth LFO on that one. A beat LFO. So we'll get that to the grid a bit. This is where the delay comes back in. This is just a bit too bright. All right. Just do a quick mix. The bass has more energy. It's a bit of a glitchy bass, isn't it? Arpegiation. So it's 8 steps. Let's see if we can make it 9 steps or 7 steps. So that way it's polymetric. And then back to the chords should probably span the whole thing, but it's about mid, and then we grab the bass. Oh, it is. Maybe 8 is fine. We'll just do a quick pre-mix and then a pre-EQ. But I think this needs a bit of saturation. In fact, I might put saturation on the whole drum group. As well as compression. That's already pretty good. Put a little bit of compression there. Just a bit bright. Peaking. It's intense. But it builds up. So that's the climax. And of course, that would be intense. I'm wondering if I scale this all to 200%. Come on. Got the plus symbol. Very cool. So I don't need to transpose it, do I? pretty busy. Well, that's been interesting. So yeah, we started out with just a simple major minor kind of parallel modulation, and then layered it up, exploring the power of the Bitwig grid, the modulators, and just these device chains that you can just get so detailed with, as well as the presets that have nestled configurations of devices, note effects, etc., arpeggiators, humanizers, randomization, all these things that make Bitwig crazy powerful. It's like a mind-blowing experience, and it's quite relaxing for me. So yeah, thanks for checking out this stream. I hope you're doing well, and have a great day. Get some sleep out there if it's late.